Okay, so in this video, we are going to do the example which shows that the method that we've just discussed. So just to briefly read what the problem says, Rukaiya Incorporate is considering an investment in the confectionaries business. So we've got a company for which we don't have a beta, and they are considering an investment in the confectionaries business. So Rukaiya has a debt to equity ratio of 1.5, a before tax cost of debt of 6%, and a marginal tax rate of 35%. Okay, now we've got the comparable firm coming up. Tastelicious Firm Foods is a publicly traded company that operates only in the confectionaries industry and has a debt to equity ratio of 2, an equity beta of 0.7, and a marginal tax rate of 40%. Right? So this is the beta that we have for the comparable firm, but as you can see, the debt to equity ratios are different. So Tastelicious has a debt to equity of 2, while the company for which we are trying to find the beta has a debt to equity of 1.5. So as we discussed in the last video, we will be unlevering this 0.7 first based on this debt to equity ratio and this tax rate. Once that unlevered beta is found, then we'll be re-levering that unlevered beta based on this new debt to equity and this tax rate. So going straight to the question, we start with the levered beta of the comparable firm, which is Tastelicious in this case, and we use their own capital structure, which is the debt to equity, and their own tax rate, which were given here, and we come up with the estimate of the unlevered beta of 0.318, right? So 0.318 is basically the beta, which is the risk associated with the confectionaries business. The additional risk from 0.318 to zero point 0.7 was because of the debt that Taste Delicious has taken. So again, as we've discussed in our classes as well, as you take on more debt, the risk of the company increases, and that risk is then represented in the increased beta of the company as well. Moving forward, we have our unlevered beta at 0.318, and now we're going to use the debt to equity and tax rate of Rukoya Incorporate to find the relevant beta for our company, which comes out to be 0.628. Finally, the question requires us to find the WACC, for which we firstly need to find the cost of equity. We've discussed the capital asset pricing model in our class CAPM. 4.5 is the risk-free rate, 0.628 is the beta that we just calculated, and this is the equity risk premium, which is the difference between the market return 11% and the risk-free return, which is 4.5%. So cost of equity for Rikoya comes out to be 8.582%. Now, finally, the formula for the weighted average cost of capital comes out to be, so this part is the debt component and this part is the equity component. So as you know that this company has a debt to equity ratio of 1.5, which means 3 parts debt to 2 parts of equity. On the basis of that, you can calculate what the debt to capital and equity to capital ratios are, which are, so the debt to capital ratio is 0.6, while debt to capital equity to capital ratio is 0.4. Those weights have been used here, and the respective costs of equity and cost of debt, and here the tax 1 minus tax factor, which is required when you're finding the weight for the debt component in finding the weighted average cost of capital. So finally, after all the calculations, we come with the weighted average cost of capital of 5.77% for the company Rukaiya.